You've been told coffee is harmless, maybe even good for you. It's the drink you count on to wake you up, keep you sharp, and get you through the day. But what if I told you that the way you're drinking it could be quietly chipping away at your health? Not in an obvious, dramatic way, but in small, daily hits that add up over time until they become impossible to ignore. Most people believe coffee's risks are only about too much caffeine or not sleeping well. That's a comforting thought and completely wrong. The truth is, there are hidden dangers most coffee drinkers never think about. They affect your heart, your digestion, your nerves, even your body's ability to absorb nutrients. And these effects can sneak up on you, even if you're drinking just 1 or 2 cups a day. I've seen it firsthand. People who thought they were living a healthy lifestyle only to discover that their coffee habit was silently sabotaging them. The worst part? They didn't feel it happening until the damage was already underway. That's why understanding these dangers now could save you years of frustration, discomfort, and serious health problems later. Here's the good news. You don't have to quit coffee to protect yourself. You just need to know the mistakes to avoid and the small changes that can make all the difference. Effect on high blood pressure. Mark, a 62-year-old retired electrician from Ohio, had always started his mornings with 2 large mugs of strong coffee. It was his ritual. The smell, the warmth, the jolt of energy. But lately, he'd been feeling dizzy when standing up and noticed his heart racing even while sitting still. One afternoon, during a routine checkup, his doctor noticed his blood pressure was alarmingly high and asked about his caffeine habits. Mark never connected the dots until he was told that his morning coffee might be the silent culprit fueling his condition. That moment changed how he looked at his daily brew. Here's the thing. Coffee isn't inherently bad. In fact, for many people, it's harmless or even beneficial in moderation. But if you're sensitive to caffeine or already struggling with hypertension, it can act like a spark in a room full of gas. Caffeine stimulates your central nervous system, causing a temporary spike in blood pressure by tightening blood vessels and boosting adrenaline levels. For someone already dealing with hypertension, this extra push can be dangerous over time. Studies have shown that caffeine's effect on blood pressure varies from person to person. But for individuals over 50, the body's ability to metabolize caffeine slows down. This means the stimulating effects and the blood pressure spike can linger longer than in younger people. Imagine constantly keeping your foot on a gas pedal your heart doesn't want you to press. That's essentially what's happening inside. The real danger here is that high blood pressure is often silent. You might not feel the damage as it's happening, but your heart, arteries, and kidneys are under constant strain. Over months and years, that extra stress can lead to heart attacks, strokes, or kidney disease. And unlike a sudden injury, you won't know the harm until it's advanced. This is why monitoring both your coffee intake and your blood pressure is not just smart, it's life-saving. The good news? Small changes can make a big difference. Switching to half-caff, spacing out your caffeine intake, or enjoying coffee only after breakfast can help reduce its impact. And while adjusting might feel strange at first, the reward is a calmer, more balanced cardiovascular system and a much better long-term outlook. But high blood pressure isn't the only hidden risk tied to your coffee habit, and the next one might surprise you even more. Reduced absorption of iron and calcium. Susan, a 58-year-old high school teacher from Texas, prided herself on eating a balanced diet. She had oatmeal with fresh fruit in the morning, plenty of leafy greens for lunch, and a glass of milk at night. Yet, during her yearly physical, her doctor noted she was borderline anemic, and her bone density scan showed early signs of osteopenia. Susan was shocked. She thought she was doing everything right. It wasn't until her nutritionist asked about her coffee routine that the hidden issue came to light. She was sipping coffee right after meals, unknowingly blocking her body from absorbing key nutrients. Coffee contains compounds called polyphenols and tannins. While these can have antioxidant benefits, they also bind with minerals like iron and calcium in your digestive tract. When this happens, your body simply can't absorb as much of them as it needs. For someone like Susan, whose diet already provided just enough, losing even a fraction of these nutrients daily added up over years. It's like pouring vitamins into a bucket with a small hole at the bottom. Eventually, you come up short. Iron is crucial for carrying oxygen in your blood, and calcium is the backbone of strong bones and teeth. Without enough of either, you risk anemia, fatigue, brittle bones, and a higher likelihood of fractures as you age. The kicker is that you might not notice the problem until symptoms become severe, and by then, reversing the damage is much harder. For postmenopausal women, this risk is even greater. Lower estrogen levels naturally speed up bone loss, and any additional interference with calcium absorption only accelerates the process. For those with a history of anemia or bone density issues, coffee timing can be the silent saboteur working against your health goals. The fix doesn't mean you have to give up coffee entirely. Simply spacing it at least 1 hour before or after meals can drastically reduce its nutrient-blocking effects. This small shift can protect your iron and calcium levels, helping you feel stronger and more energized over time. But while nutrient loss is one danger, the next risk we'll explore affects not just your health, but the health of an entirely different life you might be nurturing.
Risks during pregnancy. Emily, a 29-year-old graphic designer from Florida, was overjoyed when she found out she was expecting her first child. She had always been a coffee lover, savoring her morning latte as a sacred ritual before starting work. But midway through her pregnancy, during a routine checkup, her obstetrician gently warned her that her caffeine intake might be putting her baby at risk. Emily was stunned. She'd heard coffee wasn't great during pregnancy, but she didn't realize it could have such serious consequences. That conversation changed the way she approached every sip. During pregnancy, a woman's body undergoes profound changes, and one of them is a slower metabolism of caffeine. While a non-pregnant adult might process caffeine in a few hours, an expecting mother can take much longer, meaning the stimulant stays in her bloodstream and, by extension, the baby's bloodstream for extended periods. Since the fetus's developing liver and kidneys can't break down caffeine effectively, even moderate amounts can have outsized effects. High caffeine intake during pregnancy has been linked in studies to low birth weight, premature delivery, and, in rare cases, miscarriage. It can also impact fetal development by affecting blood flow to the placenta. For Emily, this was a sobering realization. What felt like an innocent comfort was, in reality, an extra burden on her baby's still developing system. Many experts recommend limiting caffeine intake to about 200 milligrams per day during pregnancy, roughly the equivalent of 1 12-ounce cup of coffee. But for women used to multiple cups or stronger brews, this adjustment can be challenging. It's not just about reducing coffee. Hidden sources like tea, chocolate, and certain sodas also contribute to daily caffeine totals. Switching to decaf, reducing portion sizes, or replacing coffee with naturally caffeine-free herbal teas are simple, protective steps. For mothers-to-be, every choice matters, and adjusting caffeine habits can be one of the most impactful. But while pregnancy brings unique risks, coffee's impact can reach even further, into the health of your heart and cholesterol levels. Increase in LDL cholesterol. David, a 65-year-old retired firefighter from Colorado, had always considered himself in decent shape. He hiked twice a week, kept his weight stable, and ate plenty of vegetables. But when his annual blood work showed a surprising spike in his LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, he was puzzled. His diet hadn't changed, and he wasn't a big fan of fried or processed foods. It wasn't until his doctor asked about his coffee habits that the connection emerged. David had recently switched to unfiltered coffee, like French press and espresso, without realizing it could affect his cholesterol. Certain brewing methods, especially those without paper filters, allow oily compounds in coffee called diterpenes, mainly cafestol and kawil, to pass into your cup. These compounds can interfere with your body's ability to regulate cholesterol, leading to an increase in LDL levels over time. While filtered coffee can trap most of these oils, unfiltered versions deliver them directly into your system. For someone already in the age bracket where heart health is more fragile, this can be a quiet but significant risk. High LDL cholesterol doesn't cause symptoms on its own, but it's a major driver of plaque buildup in your arteries, a condition called atherosclerosis. Over the years, this buildup can narrow arteries, reduce blood flow, and increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes. For David, the change in brewing style seemed harmless, but it was quietly stacking the odds against his heart. The tricky part is that many people switch to espresso or French press for the richer taste, thinking they're making a healthier or more sophisticated choice. But without knowing about diterpenes, they're unknowingly adding a cholesterol-raising element to their routine. This is especially concerning for anyone with a family history of heart disease or borderline cholesterol levels. The solution doesn't mean abandoning flavor. Simply returning to filtered brewing methods or balancing your intake can help keep LDL in check. Small adjustments in how coffee is prepared can protect your heart's health for years to come. And speaking of the heart, the next danger we'll explore isn't about cholesterol. It's about how coffee can aggravate an entirely different system in your body. Worsening of gastrointestinal symptoms. Linda, a 61-year-old librarian from Oregon, had always enjoyed the comfort of a warm cup of coffee while reading in the mornings. But over the past year, she started experiencing persistent heartburn, bloating, and occasional stomach cramps. At first, she blamed spicy foods or late dinners, but even after changing her diet, the discomfort lingered. It wasn't until a friend suggested she try skipping her morning coffee for a week that Linda noticed a dramatic improvement. The culprit she never suspected had been part of her daily life for decades. Coffee is naturally acidic, and for those with sensitive stomachs or existing gastrointestinal issues like acid reflux, gastritis, or irritable bowel syndrome, it can act as an irritant. The caffeine stimulates gastric acid production, which can exacerbate inflammation and trigger painful symptoms. For someone already struggling with digestive health, this added acidity is like pouring lemon juice on a paper cut. Beyond acidity, coffee also has a mild laxative effect for some people. While that might seem helpful occasionally, it can cause problems if it leads to urgency, cramping, or unpredictable bowel movements. This can be particularly disruptive for older adults whose digestive systems may already be more sensitive or slower to recover from irritation. The tricky part is that not everyone reacts the same way. Some can drink strong coffee on an empty stomach without a hint of discomfort, while others experience burning or bloating after just a few sips. Unfortunately, for those in the latter group, symptoms can worsen over time, making it harder to pinpoint coffee as the root cause. Switching to a low-acid coffee blend, pairing coffee with food, or reducing caffeine altogether can make a big difference in easing gastrointestinal strain. For Linda, these adjustments not only relieved her symptoms, but also helped her feel more in control of her health. But the digestive system isn't the only area where coffee can stir trouble. The next danger touches the mind as much as the body. Triggering anxiety. Michael, a 55-year-old accountant from Illinois, had always considered coffee his secret weapon for long workdays. But over the past year, he began noticing something unsettling. A constant feeling of restlessness, sudden bursts of worry and trouble focusing. At first, he blamed stress from deadlines, but even during quiet weekends, the unease remained. It wasn't until his wife suggested he cut back on coffee that Michael realized how much caffeine had been feeding his anxiety. Caffeine is a stimulant that increases alertness by blocking adenosine, a brain chemical that promotes relaxation. While this can be helpful in small doses, too much can overstimulate your nervous system, making your heart race and your thoughts spiral. For people prone to anxiety or panic attacks, this overstimulation can act as a trigger, creating a cycle where mental tension fuels physical symptoms, and vice versa. As we age, our tolerance for caffeine can decrease. This means that the same amount of coffee that once gave you a pleasant boost can now leave you jittery, short-tempered, or overwhelmed. The line between energized and anxious becomes much easier to cross, especially if coffee is consumed on an empty stomach or alongside other stimulants like energy drinks. The trouble is that anxiety symptoms often feel vague: tightness in the chest, sweaty palms, a racing mind, making it hard to connect them to coffee. Many people try to manage these feelings with deep breathing, meditation, or medication, never suspecting their morning cup might be a major contributor. Reducing caffeine gradually, switching to green tea, or limiting coffee to earlier in the day can help calm the nervous system. For Michael, this shift brought a noticeable drop in anxious thoughts and a return to a steadier, more focused energy. And yet, coffee's influence doesn't stop at your waking hours. It can even follow you into your sleep. Interference with sleep and sleep quality. Patricia, a 60-year-old nurse from North Carolina, loved ending her long shifts with a cup of coffee in the evening. It was her way to unwind while watching her favorite TV shows. But over time, she noticed she was tossing and turning at night, waking up groggy and relying on even more coffee the next morning to function. It became a loop she couldn't escape, and she never imagined her beloved evening brew was sabotaging her rest. Caffeine blocks adenosine, the chemical that builds up in your brain to make you feel sleepy. While that's great when you need to stay alert, it becomes a problem if caffeine is still in your system at bedtime. For older adults, caffeine's half-life can stretch even longer, meaning that an afternoon or evening cup may still be active well past midnight. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired. It can weaken your immune system, impair memory, disrupt hormone balance, and even increase the risk of chronic diseases. The real trap is that you might not realize how much your coffee is to blame because the sleep loss builds up subtly. A restless night here, a short sleep there, until fatigue becomes your normal. To make matters worse, caffeine can reduce the amount of deep, restorative sleep you get, even if you manage to fall asleep. This means you wake up feeling unrefreshed no matter how many hours you've been in bed. Over time, that lack of quality rest can chip away at both your mental clarity and your physical health. The good news is that adjusting your coffee cutoff time can make a huge difference. For most people, avoiding caffeine at least 6 hours before bedtime is enough to improve sleep quality. Patricia learned that by switching her evening coffee for herbal tea, her nights became more restful and her mornings didn't require quite so much caffeine. And now that we've uncovered all 7 hidden dangers, it's time to step back and see the bigger picture in our introduction. By now, you've seen how something as simple as your daily coffee habit can ripple through your body in ways most people never imagine. From your blood pressure to your digestion, from your sleep to your mood, each cup holds more influence than you think. The truth is, these effects aren't about scaring you into quitting, they're about giving you the knowledge and control to make smarter choices. Think about it. How many other parts of your life are quietly affected by habits you've never questioned? Coffee is just one example. The real power comes when you start paying attention, connecting the dots, and taking ownership of what goes into your body. The choice is yours. You can keep drinking coffee the way you always have and hope for the best, or you can make a few small adjustments now and protect your health for years to come. Which path do you want to look back on with pride? If this video opened your eyes, imagine what other changes could do for your energy, focus, and well-being. Your body is always speaking. It's time to start listening. Before you go, let me know in the comments which of these 7 dangers surprised you the most. And don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with someone you care about. It might be exactly what they need to hear today.